All right, good morning, traders. Today is April 17, 2025. Thank you for being here. Tomorrow, the markets are closed. Tomorrow's Friday. All right, so the market's going to be closed. Let's take a peek at everything that's going on. I want to thank everybody out there in digital land, cyberland, podcast land. Thank you for finding the value in my content. Thank you for leaving kind words. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you for following me. Thank you for leaving, if I didn't say it once, the kind comments. Thank you so much. All right, my SPY pivot this morning. That's not remaining. It's different. All right, it's 5:30:10. Above it, I'm a bull, below it, I'm a bear. All the Fab Five are still in daily downtrends. SPY, QQQ, FNGA, and Diamond Dow. All made lower lows, lower highs, closing. Sounds a bit glitchy. All right. Thank you. Continue. All right. SPY, QQQ, FNGA, and Diamond Dow all made lower lows and lower highs, closing under bearish crosses under their falling 17 EMAs. IWM, aka Russell 2000, made a lower high and a lower low, closing inside a bearish trap under the falling 17. SPY closed with a 2-hour downtrend and a 10-minute uptrend. Gold in a daily uptrend made a new all-time high. Silver made a higher high and a higher low, closing over a bullish trap over the flat 17 EMA. USO made a higher high and a higher low, closing over a bearish trap under the 17 EMA. UNG made a lower high and a lower low, closing under a bearish trap under the 17 EMA. US dollar index still in a downtrend. Hey, we like that. Closed near the 99.28 area. Max pain for today for SPY is 539 with a put to call ratio of 1.5 puts, about 1.5 puts to each call that expires today at 4:15. Okay, remember today we have a 3-day weekend coming up. Today's the last day of the week. All right, so we'll see what happens. All right, let's go. All right, Alan is the recipient of yesterday's Greedy Pig Award. He increased his account by 6%. Mel also increased her account. I think she said 15%. All right, but I called out and I didn't get any response. But anyways, I am sorry about that, Mel. I wish you would have heard me. I would have definitely got an award for you. Anyways, 15%, nothing to sneeze at. Very nice, Mel. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some charts this morning. SPY. Let's try it again. SPY. All right, here we go. Let's start off with the 10-minute chart. All right, you can see the 3 crossed up over the 8 in the closing hour. All right, so we have a 10-minute uptrend coming into the close. All right, from yesterday, 10-minute uptrend coming into the close. There's SPY. All right, on the 2-hour chart. 2-hour chart, we have the 3 underneath the 8. We have a 2-hour downtrend coming into the close last night. All right, and you can see we have an uptrend line right here. All right, will we bounce all the way back up and test these highs, creating a W pattern? It's a possibility. That's a possibility right there. You can see we bounced from basically 520, and we're already moved 10 points inside, probably in the last, I don't know, in the last hours here. All right, so price action bouncing all the way back up to 530. Remember, my SPY pivot this morning is 530.10. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. So we'll see if it gets over 530.10. All right, so there's SPY on the 2-hour chart. Let's take a look at it on the daily chart. All right, you can see we got a lower high and we got a lower low. And we closed under a bearish cross down here under the falling 17. That's the red dots right here. Pink line is the all-time high anchored VWAP. We're underneath that. All right, we're underneath the downtrend line. We're above the uptrend line, okay, for SPY. All right, so it's down here, not quite in the lower third, but close to knocking on the door there. All right, so it's just neutral. All right, if they'd have closed down here at the low of day, all right, that would have definitely been lower third, and that would have gone back to bearish. All right, you move up, you give it up, that's neutral. Same thing, you move down, you give it up, that's neutral. All right, let's take a look at the game plan. All right, for the game plan, we'll hit it up on the 5-minute chart. Okay, SPY pivot this morning, again, 5:30:10. All right, the options that I like are the 8 DTE options that expire next Friday, or the 15 DTE options that expire a week after next Friday. I like $5 to $10 out of the money, all right? And I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP, and I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. Okay, yesterday we had a really nice trade. We traded a 10-minute downtrend under VWAP, and we rode that all the way down into 520. Okay, so really nice trade. See, the VWAP is up here. Price peels away from it. Okay, so 10-minute downtrend under VWAP. There's SPY. All right, on the 5-minute chart. Okay, so we have a red erases green event under 523.70 because we bounced. So we have a red erases green under 523.70, and we have a green erases red if we come back up to yesterday's highs. So price over 533.80 is a green erases red event over 533.80. All right, SPY pivot 530.10. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. All right, if they get up here and start leaning, in other words, you see candles form right up against this 530.10, chances are if they linger there too long, they might break through and go challenge the high of day yesterday, which is roughly about 533.80, a little bit higher. All right, and then if they get up to that, all right, we're looking for gap fill on the top side. Okay, gap fill on the top side, back up here, if they get over the highs of yesterday. Okay, so there's SPY on the 5-minute chart. Let's take a look. That is the SPY game plan. Let's see if I can find it. Here it is. Bring it down in here. Zoom out. So that is the SPY. All right, bring it over some more. All right, so that's the SPY game plan for today. All right, let's take a look at QQQ game plan. All right, QQQ game plan, pivot, 447.80. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Red erases green, all right, because we bounced up. Underneath, 441.80 is my bearish entry for red erases green. I like the same options, 8 days till expiration or 15 days till expiration, Friday options. I like $5 to $10 out of the money. On the other side, we have bearish red erases green under 441.80, and the bullish, all right, is over 451.30, and that would be the green erases red, all right, over 451.30, right up there. All right, so let's go take a look at QQQ on the daily chart, see what we got for that. And what do we got here? Again, lower high, lower low, just like SPY, closing under, see the red dots? That's the 17 EMA, closing under the red dots, closing under the pink line, that's the all-time high anchored VWAP, closing in the lower third, so that's bearish. All right, you move up, you give it up, that's neutral. You give it up and more, that's bearish. All right, so they're in the lower third, so they're bearish. FNGA. All right, FNGA, same candle, lower high, lower low, closing under the bearish cross, under the 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, down here in quadrant 1, that's going to be bearish, down there. In a downtrend, all of them in downtrends, lower highs and lower lows. Okay, let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Again, lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish cross, under, see the red dots, under the falling 17, under the pink line, that's the all-time high anchored VWAP, okay? No longer in the lower third, so that's neutral, all right? You go up, you give it up, that's neutral. You go down, you give it up, that's neutral. All right, let's take a look at IWM, Russell 2000. Again, just like the others, lower high, lower low, closing. Closed under a bearish trap, under the falling 17, that's the red dots. Okay, closing under the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's the pink line way up here. All the way down here in quadrant 1, that's bearish. All right, there's IWM. That's bearish down here, quadrant 1. Let's take a look at our technicals. T2122, you can see the bulls threw us out of the buy zone yesterday. We went airborne all the way down to the midpoint, landed in the seller's chop zone, made lower highs and lower lows. Okay, so nothing really happened. Okay, we went up here, all right, knocked on the door of the buy zone, broke through the door. Bears gave us the middle finger and tossed us out. All right, there it is. We ended up in the seller's chop zone right here. Okay, made a lower low here and a lower low here, but not a lower low from last week. So we'll see what happens. So it's kind of got a little wedge going on to the upside. We'll see where we wind up today. I do see us bouncing from yesterday's lows. So nice looking bounce there, by the way. All right, so that's T2122. T2123 is a comatose flat line, okay? No bearish gaps getting filled, all right? And no higher highs being made, okay? Nothing bullish is happening here, okay? So be careful out there. Nothing bullish. Don't get sucked into hype, all right? Nothing bullish happening here. What we have is a little mini bull flag, all right, with a flag that's like 10 times as long as the flag pole, okay? A little mini bull flag inside of a big bear flag, okay? You linger here too long, and what happens is investors give up hope, all right, and they start to sell off. They start to give up their position, all right? That's what happens. They give up because it's not bouncing. It's not moving, all right? It's just in a coma, stuck down here near the lows of the last 2 months, all right? So not looking good, all right? So T2123, you linger here too long, what happens? Just like the last one, people give up hope, selling begets selling, and pretty soon you're making a new flag down here where we are now. Okay, so there's T2123. We are still under the falling 200 SMA there, and under this consolidation, all right? Let's face it, this is consolidation under consolidation. That's definitely consolidation. This is more consolidation. Consolidation under prior consolidation is bearish. It's a bear flag, hence the name, we're bearish, all right? Not making any higher highs, AKA, we're bearish, all right? Flat line, we're bearish, all right? I don't know how to say it any other way. We're bearish, all right? T2123, all right? I just don't want anybody getting fooled, all right? So T2123, 3 bar, okay? You can see price action, see the V bottom. It didn't happen here. It's a flat line, okay? A hockey stick. So it was a move down and then over to the right. Okay, see? Move and then over to the right. Not like this. All right? See? Not like that. That's what we like, okay? This, not so much. All right? So then we got another move down and then over to the right here. Okay, so that's bearish. It's a bear flag, hence the name bear. All right, price action in a coma. All right, almost flat line right through here. Okay, underneath the falling 17, 3 more red candle bars. Underneath the falling 200 SMA. Underneath 2 prior all-time highs and the all-time high. Okay, nothing bullish happening yet. All right, T2123. All right, let's take a look at FNGA. This is the 15-minute chart. You can see we're underneath. This is the all-time high anchored VWAP. And we find ourselves underneath the falling 200. Well, a flat 200 right here. In order to have any decent rally, we're going to need the FNGA. Okay, it's not going to happen without it. There will be no decent rally without the FNGA. It may be a mini rally, all right, without the FNGA, but it won't last long and it won't go far. We need the FNGA. All right, these are the 10 most heavily weighted securities in the QQQ and SPY. All right, wherever they go, they jerk the 2 indexes along with them. Okay, so price action. Got another bearish trap that didn't get filled yesterday. Okay, so where are the bulls? All right, price action. Gaps down, and it's a sell-off from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. And we find ourselves underneath the 200 SMA once again. Price action, making lower highs and lower lows. All right, so nothing happening here. We are consolidating over to the right. You can see the move up. Okay, you can see the move up and then over to the right. All right, so we got like a little mini bull flag so far. That's what we got so far. That's all we got. All right, we need this in a really nice, robust uptrend. It's not there yet. All right, but it's working on it. All right, there's a little bit of hope there. It is working on it. We're not down here at the lows again. Okay, they seem to be consolidating up here near the 200 SMA. Okay, so there is some hope right there, but got to start filling these bearish gaps. Got to start making some higher highs. Okay, there's your clues. It's not getting done yet. We're getting higher lows, and all of that's fine and dandy. All right, but we need higher highs and some of these bearish gaps getting filled. We still got a bearish gap from 6-7 days. Today's the 17th. All right, this is the 10th. All right, right there. Still got a bearish gap from 7 days ago that's still not gotten filled. All right, got to start filling bearish gaps and making higher highs. All right, so there's FNGA. All right, let's go take a look at some sectors. Start off with the XLE. All right, a little bit different from the indexes. Notice higher low, higher high. Okay, not like all the indices. Closing inside a bearish trap, under the falling 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, under, that's the all-time high anchored VWAP. All right, under the downtrend line 1, downtrend line 2, down here in quadrant 1, all right, so that's bearish. Okay, you move up, you give it up, that's neutral. You give it up and more, that's bearish. Okay, in the lower third, that's bearish. All right, in a bearish trap, but not like the others yesterday. All right, there's XLE. Let's take a look at USO. USO got a higher low and a higher high, closing under the 17, over the bearish trap, under the 3-year high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line. That's a post-COVID high. In the lower third, so that's still bearish. USO. There's some hope though, but right now, not quite. UNG, lower high, lower low, closing under the bearish trap, under the falling 17, under the uptrend line, under the midpoint, and above the 12-month high anchored VWAP. All right? You move up, you give it up, you're neutral. And they break into the lower third, and they're going to be bearish. All right, so there's UNG. Let's take a look at GLD. Precious metals. Gold makes new all-time high yesterday. Okay? Really nothing else to be said. It's making new all-time highs. All right, let's take a look at silver. Silver got a higher low and a higher high, closing over a bullish trap, over the 17, over the hooking 17, over, this is a 12-year high anchored VWAP as well as a 6-month high anchored VWAP. All right, closing over in the upper third, that's bullish up there. Same as GLD. All right, let's take a look at SMH. All right, SMH, lower high, lower low, closing under the bearish cross. Down here, quadrant 1, that's bearish. XLK, there's the sibling to the SMH. Lower high, lower low, closing in the lower third, that's bearish. Down here, under the falling 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, under the uptrend line, under the midpoint, in the lower third, that's bearish. All right, let's take a look at XLF. XLF, lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish cross. Under the pink line, that's the all-time high anchored VWAP. Under the midpoint, that's neutral. Okay, you move up and you give it up, that's neutral. You move down, you give it up, that's neutral. Okay, let's take a look at IYT. And IYT is lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap. Under, see the red dots, falling 17 EMA. See, okay, under, see the pink line, all-time high anchored VWAP. All right, quadrant 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, in the lower third is bearish. We're in quadrant 1. It's a red candle. That means we closed at the bottom of the body. All right, so we closed in quadrant 1. That's bearish. All right, that's transports. Let's take a look at our economic package. And look at this falling dollar. I love it. All right, falling dollar. We closed down here near 99.28 area. We broke the major support right here of that consolidation. Price action, lower highs, lower lows. We like that. If we just had some certainty on the tariffs, we could have probably a rally with this falling dollar. All right. Just saying, Mr. President. All right. So Max Payne for today, 539. These are for the SPY puts and calls that expire today at 4:15. All right. So Max Payne is 539. A put to call ratio of 1.5 puts to each call. All right, on the economic calendar. All right, it's last day of the week here. All right, we've got housing starts and permits today at 8:30, jobless claims at 8:30, Philly Fed Manufacturing Index 8:30, natural gas report 10:30. Okay, that's it, and then the week is done. For earnings report. Earnings report. We are on Thursday. Taiwan Semiconductor is going to report this morning. They are 815 billion strong. That's pretty close to $1 trillion. All right. United Healthcare, $500 billion, 533 billion strong. Netflix reports tonight, 417 billion strong. American Express, 181 billion. They're going to report this morning. Schwab, Chucky's going to report 139 billion. They're going to report this morning. Marsh McClellan, 114 billion. They're going to report this morning. So a lot of market cap reporting this morning. All right, so keep an eye on progress and see where if we bounce or if we trade lower. I got a feeling they're going to all print some good numbers. But the problem is we're not going to get moving up until we get some kind of clarity from the administration as to whether we're getting tariffs or we're not getting tariffs, or is this some kind of cat and mouse game? What's going on? They're on, then they're off for 90 days. 90 days, what are we waiting for? Get them on the phone, call them, give them the tariff. If they're not going to, if they're not going to respond, somebody got to lead. You got to lead. Get them on the phone and let them know what's going on. All right, that's it for me for today. All right, I'll see you guys in about 45 minutes. I'll take questions in the room. Yeah, that can hurt. You start out with the right amount of risk that you're willing to lose, and then when that red erases green, Jim, on SPY. I hate it when I got to learn a lesson the hard way. So he got stopped out right at 11, right there. Okay. Now notice, it's a 10-minute chart. This is our favorite. All right. The 3 did cross up off with the 8, so he got stopped out, and for good reason. All right. But for other people, all right, that wouldn't have been. I said for me, I was going to wait for the 15-minute rubber band candle. That was the 10-minute rubber band candle. All right, and notice he got stopped out because it crossed. All right, but that's a good reason. It could have gone, look at it this way, Jim. It could have kept going and filled the gap. All right, we didn't know it was going to sell off here. I mean, we had a good hunch it's going to sell off with the news that we got from NVIDIA, but it very well could have gap filled. So don't feel sorry about it. You did a good job. You came back. Way to go. All right. And you took your stop. All right. At least you had a stop. So therefore, you know that you're not going to go through any major disaster having a stop. So kudos and hats off to you, even though it was a lesson learned. All right. It's you still traded the day, and you made some green right there. Even though you played catch up. Right there. You gotta have a place where you gotta say uncle. All right? And 3 crossing the 8 is a valid place to say stop. You know? No more. And there's SPY. So we traded the 10-minute downtrend into the close right there. All right. All right, I'll see you guys in about, let's say, 45 minutes. All right?